What's up, guys? It's your boy, Barca Boy 103. Today we're going to be doing the match analysis from the match yesterday between Barcelona and Girona, where yet again Barcelona win by a comfortable and considerably big margin on the scoreline as well, and doing it for the first time post international break in quite some years now. Always Barcelona tend to pick up form and momentum before the international break, and afterwards it gets killed, but not this time, not under the stewardship of the German coach and Hansi Flick. We'll talk about that, and also of course 5 key things that we did learn from this match as well. But before we get into it, make sure you guys smash that like button down below. Let's try to get the 200 likes in this video, be very much appreciated. Also, if you're new, make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Now, before we get to this video is sponsored by OneMix. OneMix is a new upcoming sneaker brand that has some of the best designs I have seen from a sneaker company in a long time. First of all, their box is stunning. The shoes are fantastic. Comes with specific socks as well that you can wear with these shoes. The comfortability, mobility, endurance of the shoe is top notch. It's basically like a high level shoe for affordable price. It is ridiculous, and you look fantastic wearing it as well. On their website, they have a variety of different options, designs, different kind of sneakers and shoes as well that you can pick from, all free shipping as well. So make sure you click the top link in the description down below and check out OneMix today. Let's start off by taking a look at Hansi Flick's tactical approach for this game, and also the first key point that I do want to mention that revolves around the importance of the high press that Flick has implemented from the beginning under his tenure as the new Barcelona manager. First, you can see here the SofaScore ratings for the starting lineup. Of course, the mid players who played the majority of the game, with Lamine Yamal getting a 9.5. But the key here is, of course, the team average being a 7.19, basically say 7.2 pretty much, which is very high for a team kind of average. Usually you're bouncing between 7.0 to 7.4-ish, so this being quite high. You can see most of the players in the green. Kubarsi is a bit, harsh, I think, with Lewandowski against a lot of those missed chances, so kind of makes sense in the end. Now, if you take a look at the average positioning in this game for the Barcelona players, on the left-hand side is the starting lineup, on the right-hand side is where the substitutions came in as well. You can see on the left-hand side, yet again, very, very narrow approach. The one thing that I'm a bit worried with Hansi Flick is when a team comes out to nullify our narrow approach, how well will we adapt? Because again, Raphinha, when he's on the left hand side, he's basically cutting inside. You can see him basically just beside Lewandowski. Of course, have Olmo just in behind, Pedri just ahead of Casado, so that area makes sense. But with Olmo, Lewandowski, and Raphinha so close to each other, once the team approaches us in a way to nullify us narrowly, it's going to, of course, force us to go wide, and will we be able to adapt or not? That is the question. Of course, with the substitutions coming in on the right-hand side, you can see the changes were made as well. Pau Victor coming in off the left, Ferran Torres playing as the number 9 just for a bit, Hector Fort as the right back, Eric Garcia in the pivot alongside Casado as well. So you can see there he wasn't playing like Pedri, where he was a bit more advanced, basically sitting alongside Casado, and of course Marc came in just for a little bit, just to add some numbers in that back line. Now, if you take a look at the stats for this game, again, just the purple is going to be Barcelona. It's nothing but pure domination. The possession was 55% in the end, 1.82 expected goals, 3 big chances, 20 shots on target, 3 saved by the goalkeeper. As you can see, Ter Stegen had a quiet afternoon, 6 corners, only 4 fouls committed, which again, we highlight this a lot under Hansi Flick. He wants the players not to react, not to commit fouls, not to, antagonize the referee, play the game calmly, coolly, and collectively. We've seen a lot of, I think Barcelona tend to average in the double digits for fouls, but the fact that we're getting 4, especially in a game in high intensity and high pressure like this, is, astounding. 476 passes, 20 tackles, 13 free kicks in total, 2 yellow cards, of course, 1 red card. Now, you can see there in the middle is the shots where Barcelona took their shots during this game. You can see, again, a lot of it inside the area. We talked a lot I would say over the past few years, especially just before Messi left, I think the year or two before Messi left, a lot of the Barca fans have been complaining about Barcelona players not shooting from outside the box. I remember there's a big agenda about that at the beginning of the 2019-2020 season, post Anfield. I remember Artur scoring a long-range goal against Villarreal at home, and everyone lost their marbles because, oh, this is what happens when you shoot, blah, blah, blah. And we're seeing over the past forwarding few years, we take more shots from distance, but again, we're not really converting. But you can see here, again, it's kind of that same approach where, you would like to see the Barca players, especially when they're in space, have those shots from distance. But again, in this game, they weren't there. We've seen Lamine Yamal try to cut inside a lot, then Olmo in good areas as well. just never came in it. That's why you can see a lot of the shots were inside the box. Again, total of 20 shots, 9 on target, which again is pretty accurate. 2 of them are blocked, 13 inside the box, 7 outside. But again, those 7 out of the 7 outside, you can see here, like 3 of them are from good distance, and the rest are kind of very close to the touchline. Now you can see on the right hand side as well the heat concentration for this game, so where Barcelona mainly attacked, and of course with Lamine Yamal getting a brace, you can tell that we did attack more down the right hand side. We created 2 big chances, we missed one of them, 2 through balls alongside 34 touches in the opponent's area, and we did commit 3 fouls in the final third. So out of the 4 fouls that we committed, 3 of them were in the final third, which means that we probably just lost the ball. We're trying to do a foul, tactical foul to stop a counter attack. So when we do fouls, it's for the right reasons, which again is very, very important. And you can see where the ball was spent on the left hand side. The majority of the game it was spent in the middle of the park, but also mainly in the Girona final third with 37% in the end. You can see that Barcelona had 434 accurate passes, which again is very impressive. 23 throw-ins, 44 final third entries as well, which is very strong. A good amount of long balls, very low on the crossing, 2 completed out of 19, which again is something we have to improve upon. I want to highlight Alejandro Balde too much, but I am keeping an eye on him. In terms of duel, we won over 60% of them, disposing around 7 of them as well. The dribbling stat wise, you can see there's a total number of tackles as well, and the dribbling stat total being 69%. But the main thing I do want to focus on, of course, like I mentioned there in the headline, and the first thing that we did learn from this game was the high press that Hansi Flick did implement in this game. We saw a lot in the final third. Olmo here, Pedri here, Casado here, and every time we lost the ball in these higher upper areas, you see Balde push here, Kounde push here, and trying to nullify and outnumber the Girona players, especially in midfield, to win the ball back as quickly as possible or force them into errors. And sometimes as well, we saw a lot in possession as well, that the team looking like this, where we had Olmo on the left here, looking more like a 4-3-3, with Casado really sitting on his own as well. We saw him a lot as well, slip in between Kounde and Inigo Martinez during this game. But again, the most important thing here is not only high pressing, but high pressing as a unit, which we did lock a lot last season under Xavi. You'd see maybe 2 players, for example, let's just pull these 2 players, they'd be pressing, but then the opponent would easily work away from them, and then they have all the space coming through here, but that third midfielder wasn't pressing. But now, I think a good example was when David Lopez is on the ball here, not for the goal that Lamine Yamal scored, but for another scenario, I believe, just before that, where he was on possession here. You saw Raphinha press, he passed it out wide, I believe, to Francis. He pushed the right back. Balde closed him down. Inigo is right here waiting for his slip up. Then Olmo was there as well. So you're trying your best to outnumber the opponents as well, to press as a unit. And Hansi Flick was always key about this in his press conferences, also in the presentation when he was presented as the new head coach, that he wants to press as a unit, and not only on the left hand side, but we did of course see it on the right hand side as well. Mainly a lot to do with Pedri, Kounde, and Kounde. Lamine Yamal not too much. If you lost the ball here, you either do a foul or just let it go and hoping for a slip up. Kounde got lucky a lot of times here. I think Girona made a lot of individual mistakes down this side. Of course, again, you can't forget Lewandowski. He was of course pressing in both areas where the ball was needed. He was kind of making that 5th man to try his best to outnumber. Of course, Casado here in the middle of the park as well would come into this right hand side and leave Kounde here for those balls over the top, especially when you have Adel Luiz, Ziankov to deal with, quick pacey forwards as well. You don't want to commit too much forward. So not only we pressing as a unit, but we're pressing smartly as well, and that for me is a massive improvement. Now, the second thing that we learned in this match was the natural ability as a defender from Inigo Martinez. I did highlight this in my match review yesterday as well, but I want to give it more flowers in this match analysis as well. Now, if you look at the stats of Inigo Martinez during this game, has 7.2 SofaScore rating. You can see from his heat map, of course, playing as a left center back. And again, look based on the concentration as well, he is playing more higher up in possession, not sitting back a lot due to defending. Now in the match, he played 90 minutes. He had 4 clearances, 1 block shot, 1 total tackle, both his ground duels and aerial duels. Only lost possession 7 times, 91 touches, 91% pass accuracy, only misplacing 7 passes in totals with 1 key pass. And here is the big one for me: long balls. He attempted 6 and completed 5, had a total of 6 tackles as well. Look, what I was really impressed a lot with in this match from Inigo Martinez, again, was the natural, raw ability of a center back, and also one that we have lacked a lot in recent times. I think we kind of had that a lot with Araujo, where if he just gets the ball, he'll just boot it, because we know that on the ball, he's quite not as strong as his other partners in the defense, where Inigo is not only strong on the ball, but he does have that raw sensibility with him. We saw again the first game of the season in the Mestalla, he was poor on the ball, decision making was dreadful in the back line, he would hold onto the ball too much, but since that game he's had an absolute resurgence, a remontada of remontadas, where he's now performing well on the ball, he's doing well, composure is good, but again, when in doubt, boot it out. He knows when he's going to be in sticky situations, when to just absolutely clear it. We see a lot of times players like to play with it a little bit, like Kounde will sometimes take his time with it, which again, it kind of balances out. Kounde will play with it, take his time, tactical approach, but Inigo Martinez kind of the flip side, when in doubt, boot it out kind of defender, and you need that kind of balance. You can't have both playing off in the back and then both just booting it out, because you're going to firstly lose possession if they're both booting it out, and they're both, holding the ball, taking risks. You're going to risk, of course, conceding a chance. So with Inigo's perspective to Kounde, this is what a natural center back balance is like, and I love this of Inigo, that again, he'll play off in the back when needs be. He'll clear it when he needs to as well. And when he clears it as well, it tends to be an accurate pass. We saw it, of course, a few times in the second half as well. So that for me was the key aspect, and he has been doing this for the past few games now. He was very poor in it at the Mestalla in the first game. We saw a lot in the Rayo Vallecano match. Not much against Bilbao, because of course we were at home, so we had a lot of possession. We quite nullified them quite well. They were all down the wings mainly, and Balde and Kounde were doing their things, and they really didn't have much to do with Inigo. But against Rayo and again this game as well is where I really saw a lot of it, whereas that natural ability of when in doubt, boot it out, and then when you have to compose on the ball and distribute properly. Now the third thing that we learned in this match is the steady growth of Marc Casado, and we're seeing now slowly but surely how important of a Barcelona player he can be for the present and of course the future of the team. Now firstly, on his stats for this game, he had a 7.5 silver score rating. You can tell from his heat map, of course, mainly playing in the defensive third of Barcelona, as he's going to be the deep lying of the two pivots between him and Pedri, but still getting forward in a lot of areas. That of course comes down to Barcelona's possession in that area. Of course, in the match he played 90 minutes, he had 1 assist, that fantastic, brilliant cut through line pass to Pedri, 56 touches, 92% pass accuracy, only misplacing 4 passes in total. 1 key pass, he attended 2 long balls, completed 1, created 1 big chance, had 1 shot off target, won both his ground duels, he had attempted 2 aerial duels and 1-1, and someone who's kind of short like him, that is pretty impressive. Only lost possession 5 times in the whole game. Now when you're sitting there as a pivot, getting the ball mainly coming through you in a lot of areas, only losing the ball 5 times. Dare I say, I'm not comparing him to this player whatsoever, but that is Busquets numbers. I'm not saying Casado is anywhere near Busquets. I don't even think they're kind of the same kind of profile, but Busquets was a player that rarely lost the ball. Even in order to not lose the ball, he'd do a simple pass to the left back to the goalkeeper. And we saw a lot of that from Casado as well, making the right decisions, and he also committed only 1 foul in the game as well. He was never, fouled himself. What we're seeing with Casado is someone who is growing at a very rapid rate because he has the trust of the manager. With the minutes that he got in preseason, him and Bernal were on the hype, of course. When the season started as well, keep in mind Casado was not a starter, and I think now he's putting himself in real contention with other players that are going to be coming back in his position. Of course, Eric Garcia is now fully integrated. He's not going to be leaving anytime soon. De Jong's coming back from injury. Gavi's going to come back from injury. Of course, with Christensen, he doesn't have to worry about that too much. But again, what we're seeing from Casado is his ability to grow and to learn at a very strong pace as well. We saw in the last game of preseason, I believe against AC Milan, sometimes he'd lose the ball and difficult areas, he'd get pressed and then he'd kind of panic a little bit, and we're now seeing some strong composure. Why? Not only does it come with experience on the pitch, but mainly off the pitch in training. This is why you train as well. So for Casado, for me, absolutely fantastic performance from him, and he's now putting himself as a real contender to start in that position, especially with players coming back in that area. But all he can do from here is grow. Of course, he's young. He'll have a mistake in him. If he does, it will be great to see how he bounces back from that and how he learns from it and how much it will affect him as well. But with his performances at this young age, remember last season we were crying out for Casado. Xavi just didn't want to risk it, or he didn't want to maybe trust him. I don't know what. He'd be in every single squad list, comes on against Atletico Madrid for 5 minutes when we were crying out for a midfielder. Hansi Flick gives him the go-ahead, and we're seeing the ability of him. If you watch Barca Athletic last season, like I did a lot, especially near the tailor end, because the first team were just beyond shy. They were the only ones giving me excitement. You saw this coming. This is why the club decided to, mainly FFP, but making that strong decision to, remove Roberto, the club captain, to bring in this youngster, looks now to be an absolutely brilliant decision. Now, the fourth thing that we learned in this match is the composure of Pedri is something that Hansi Flick needs to exploit in every single match, because I think, to be honest, unless I'm missing someone, he's the only player in the world that I can see that has and that execute on this ability. Now, firstly, in terms of his stats for this game, he has 7.6 SofaScore rating. You can see from his heat map, mainly playing on the left-hand side of the midfield, but again, covering the midfield on a strong base. In the match, he only played 69 minutes, had 1 goal, 49 touches, 91% pass accuracy, only misplacing 3 passes in total. 1 key pass, he attempted 2 long balls, completed 1 of them, had 1 shot on target. He attempted 4 dribbles and completed 2, so a 50% dribble success rate for Pedri, which is very, very good. He attempted 9 ground duels and won 6, lost position only 7 times, did not commit a foul, was fouled himself once, also had 1 clearances, 3 tackles. He was dribble passed once as well. But what we saw from Pedri today is the ability of a midfielder to compose the ball and dictate everything the way that he wants to. You saw the amount of times, not only, he can do the flicks and, flick it over play and stuff like that. It's not even that I'm talking about, which of course that is fantastic on its own, but it's the ability to read the game, which it's not hard to it's very hard to teach. That's why you have to have that natural raw ability. We all know how good Pedri is. We know his growth over the past few years. The issue with him has been fucking injuries, because he just can't stay fit to save his life. When he comes back, he's managerial, out for 3 months. We miss him like hell, and then we get upset because he can't stay fit, to save his life. But when he is fit, he's second to none in that midfield. We even saw this a lot last season when Pedri was coming back from injury. You're thinking, okay, how can we open up this game? You have Gundogan in the midfield, Christensen, one very attack-minded, one very, defensive-minded. You don't really have someone to, dictate the game and open it up. You see Pedri come on in games and you see the difference. A perfect example is at the Mestalla in the first game where he did not start. It was Casado and Bernal, if I'm not mistaken, or was it Christensen and Bernal? It was someone. I don't think Pedri started that game. He came on with about 20 minutes to go, and you just see how he brought that composure, that calmness to the midfield. We started to hold the ball much better. The progression was much more smoother. That's what he brings, and we saw a lot today, especially in transition from the defensive. Kubarsi, Inigo, someone won it back, they found Casado, or they find Pedri. You see how Pedri just glides to the midfield. He'll even pass 1 or 2 Girona players himself, and the space is just miles open. We saw that on numerous amount of occasions. He'd always go down the left hand side as well, where Raphinha and Balde, dare I say, tend to mess it up a little bit, especially on those counterattacks. But that is the ability of Pedri. The composure, the vision, the dictatorship on the ball is second to none in the world of football. But he has to keep it up and also, mainly stay fit. But I would say this, a little bit of criticism for me would be to be more effective. A lot of times he'll play it safe in those kind of areas, pass it out to the left. When you're in that final third area, you're on the counterattack, I want you to kind of have, I think for me personally, the best thing to do is to kind of have the mindset of an attacking midfielder like Dani Olmo, take a risk pass. I think if it was Dani Olmo in those scenarios, he would do that because he is that kind of player. But I want Pedri in those areas when he's really open on a counterattack after passing 1 or 2, to not always play it simple, because sometimes that's not the best option. Of course, that's the best option, then by all means. But there's a lot of times where he went to Balde and Raphinha, but a simple ball over the top to risk it just to pass a Girona player would send Lamine Yamal through on goal, so to Lewandowski, it's a goal. Or Lamine Yamal shoots and it's a goal himself as well. So just take a bit more risk when he's in those certain areas. But again, we know the ability of Pedri just now about him staying fit and doing it week in, week out on a consistent basis. And the final thing, in my opinion, that we learned from this match against Girona is the aura of Lamine Yamal is very scary, and I will elaborate on that. But before that, we do want to look at his stats in this game. He did get a 9.5 SofaScore rating. Of course, you can see from his heat map, was playing on the right-hand side in that forward, in that final third area. In the match, he played 89 minutes, had 2 goals, an XG of 0.71, XA 0.12, 59 touches in total, 77% pass accuracy, 1 key pass. He attempted 3 crosses, did not complete 1 of them, had 4 shots on target, 1 shot off target. He attempted 4 dribbles, only completed 1. He attempted 16 ground duels and won 10, lost possession 17 times, did not commit 1 foul, and he was fouled himself 3 times. Now, I do want to highlight what some of these stats. Firstly, losing possession 17 times, it is quite a bit, but with that kind of player, you do expect it. Even Messi, I think his numbers were quite high as well during, his peak time. Because he'd go and take a risk, he might lose it, and someone wins it back immediately, he'll go and score, but it still counts as a possession loss. So that for me is not really the concerning number. One of the main concerns here for me is the dribbling. he attempted 4 dribbles, completed 1. I want to see Lamine Yamal be more of a touchline winger because we know what the ability he does have. A lot of people want to see Lamine Yamal kind of shifting towards a striker, second forward, false 9 in the future, but I still see him right now as a natural winger. And with that being said, I do want to see him attempt more 1v1s. I was critical of this of Raphinha last season, so I will be consistent and do the same here with Lamine Yamal. And also, the crossing. He attempted 3, did not complete any of them. We know that Lamine Yamal has that signature cross with his left foot that just bends and whips over the entire defense. And, you know, whoever's making that late run, Lewandowski, Raphinha, Olmo, maybe Balde, maybe even, can connect with it and at least get an attempt on target. Didn't see too much of them. Again, Girona were closing him down quite a bit as well, so it did make it a bit difficult. But here, I do have, of course, the title being Lamine Yamal aura is scary. The reason being is that those stats right there prove my point. You cannot tell me that these stats warrant a 9.5 SofaScore rating, but it's Lamine Yamal's ability that you're afraid of. And I think I saw this compilation on Twitter of, you know, Lamine Yamal's game. Oh, masterclass! I watched it. I'm watching it thinking like, I mean, it's alright. Yes, he scored 2 goals. I mean, one of them was a mistake, and he pounced on it. Credit to him. The second one just, you know, free kick cleared right to him. Great finish. I'm not taking the credit away from him, but it's the aura of the player. It's the ability of the player that has the defense scared, and that's why his performances are being more emphasized than they are. For me personally, like I mentioned in my match review yesterday, I think he was more so of an 8 out of 10. I honestly think his performance was a 7, but I gave it an extra rating for the 2 goals because you have to give credit where it's due. I'm not saying, I don't think he was man of the match in this game. I mentioned this. I think a lot of people on Twitter as well mentioned that people were saying Olmo man of the match, people were saying Pedri, some people were saying Casado. Lamine Yamal is being, I think Lamine Yamal's simple, standard performances are being overhyped due to his age. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying he's crap. I think he still played a really good game. But again, look at these stats. The amount of times no crosses completed, very low dribbling success rate, possession loss was, you know, on the higher side. Accurate passes weren't the best. Again, I'm not here criticizing the play because I expect these stats from Lamine Yamal because he is a touchline winger. And this is, again, like Pep famously says, the coach's job is to bring the team from the defense to the final third. After the final third, it's down to the player's individual ability, and that is my point. The individual ability of Lamine Yamal is what has people scared, and that's why they double team him. That's why they kind of leave him open sometimes, and that's why it's difficult for him to get into some areas as well, because they keep on closing down all those channels, which makes it hard for him. And despite that, despite all this, you know, constructive criticism that I'm giving, he still got a brace. Could have gotten a hat trick as well. There's some times where, you know, a player squared to him. Could have been a different scenario. My point being here is that we have to stay calm with Lamine Yamal and do not overhype these good performances. When he has a good performance, and then what we're gonna do? How are we gonna glaze that when he scores the hat trick? We're gonna be on our knees at that point. But my point being is that the ability of Lamine Yamal is what puts fear into the opponents, and that's why sometimes the execution from Lamine Yamal isn't the best because the opponents are closing him down, they're closing down the channels, double teaming him. We saw a lot. They left Kounde open a lot on the right hand side because they know that Kounde on the ball in the final third is basically don't want to hurt my boy Kounde, but not the best. But again, hopefully he does improve on that. We saw Kounde in the gym after the game as well, so maybe that will, you know, help things out here. But again, with Yamal, it's the aura that puts him in place and that puts him a step above other players. That's why Raphinha is being left open a lot, because you know what? On his day he can score a hat trick. On a day he can miss 3 chances. So you know that on his day Lamine Yamal can do magical things, and on his off day he can get a brace like this. For instance, again, I'm not saying this is an off day, but I'm just saying hypothetically speaking. So again, I would say with the flick as well, to use his ability like I talked about with Pedri. When defenders and teams are scared of him, it's because of his end product. And again, in build-up, it's about 50-50. Sometimes he'll be absolutely sensational. Like we saw in the Valladolid game, every cross is pinpoint. Every, you know, touch of the ball is basically gold. Taking on defenders, that for me is a masterclass. That's a man-of-the-match, world-class performance from Lamine Yamal. But yesterday night was different. It was more so constructive. It was more so tactical. It was more so low risk taking, and you can see that from the game. Go watch the compilations on Twitter of Lamine Yamal. Apart from the 2 goals, he'd, you know, run down the line, cut inside, back to Olmo, run down the line, try and pass the defender, doesn't. Defender slips, he'll run in the byline, cross is blocked. It's very simple. But again, the simple things are always the hardest to do, so he just, you know, fines tune that. Again, we know the ability of Lamine Yamal. He's gonna skyrocket into the world of football, and the fact that he's doing this now at a young age only means positive things. So that was a match analysis of Girona versus Barcelona in La Liga. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, in the comments down below as well, let me hear your thoughts on everything we discussed. Do you agree with my points? Do you disagree? Is there a point that I didn't bring up? A point that I did want to mention, of course, was the high line that Barcelona had that we did exploit very, very well. Maybe I'll touch upon that in another video. I don't think that was one of the main 5 points, and the main 5 points are the ones that I mentioned. Let me know if you agree, disagree, or want to maybe add any additional points in the comments down below. And of course, make sure you guys subscribe down below as well if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time on the channel. Take care, and Forza Barca.